Thank you so much for being here. My name is Amanda, and today we're going to be going over ways to use the yoga triangle for yin yoga sequencing. The yoga triangle is a triangle-shaped yoga block that was designed for use in yoga, but it also has use for a lot of other ways and applications. The uniqueness of the design is in its actual shape. So we have bevels that are really nice for manipulation and stabilization. We've got an angle that can slide and fit into all of the spaces under your feet, under your hips, behind your back, your glutes, your neck, all of the spaces that are naturally occurring in the human body. And then we also have a landmark. Hey, you gotta stop that. You gotta stop. Sorry. We also have a landmark on the bottom. So if you are trying to figure out the best way to use the product, the triangle, you can use the landmark as a guide for you. So you can use the word with the letter B, word balance with the letter B as a directive, or you can use the letter E as a directive. Lastly, the triangles are a pretty unique product. They're lightweight, they're easy to grip, and they make a lot of different shapes. So why would we need these different shapes? Well, the human body has a lot of different shapes, not just a rectangular shape. So hopefully you're getting the idea. Thank you for being here, and please feel free to like, save, comment, any questions you have, any observations you might have below. All right, so today we're going to be going over ways to use the yoga triangle for yin yoga, and you'll have to work with me here. I'm following a resource guide, and so I want to start today with dessert first. So we're going to start with corpse pose, final resting pose, or shavasana. For this pose and this variation, this is a pretty useful integration for individuals who are new to yoga or who have discomfort in the low back from reclining. So to get into this variation, you can come to a reverse tabletop position. Have your triangles on the mat next to you. And sorry, he loves practicing yoga. And then slowly recline back, one elbow at a time until you've touched down. And then locate the space between your hips and your ribs and place the word balance with the letter E pointing towards you on your mat on either side. And we'll just roll the hips to one side and slide the triangle under, and roll the hips to the other side and slide the triangle under until you've articulated a nice low back tilt here, and the low back feels supported. In this variation, the legs can be fully extended, or they can be bent with the knees touching, or you can come into a butterfly. This creates a neutral lumbar arch for people who have discomfort in the low back. This is a very, very comfortable position for an extended stay in corpse pose or shavasana. Of course, you want to do your breathing here. If we were in a traditional yin class, you would hold this pose for an incredibly long time. For the sake of this demonstration, we're going to come out of the pose now by gently rolling one hip to one side and one hip to the other side, and removing whatever animals you have and coming up onto your side. So yoga triangles, really helpful for comfort in the low back in a corpse pose. The next variation that we'll go over is a sphinx pose. So for sphinx pose, you want to take your yoga triangles, bring them together with the word balance or your landmark toward the ground. And then you'll come into a tabletop position and walk your hips back, walk your knees back, and lower your chest down onto the triangles. In this position, you can relax your feet and you can extend the arms out in front of you. You can cross at the elbows, or you can make a hand mound to rest your forehead here. Other variations include extending the arms back or extending the arms out to the side. Of course, you would be in this pose for however long in a yin class traditionally, but you can see how this creates support here. Triangles can be slid further under for more support. You can also extend the hands out in front of you to catch the head. These longer held poses can be really challenging, but when you include a prop in the variation, you get more of that rebounding and open. You can feel your body releasing into the prop. To come out of this, just gently release the triangles, slide them out from under you, and take your time as you come back into a tabletop position. Between these poses, you can do some counter poses like a toe stretch or a cat-cow. Again, in a traditional yin class for sequencing, you would want to follow whatever the instructor was guiding you in. But for the sake of the demonstration today, we're just running through options for yin sequencing. From here, we'll come into a really cool ramp variation. So for this variation, I want to take the triangles with the word balance or the landmark facing up and bring them together. Now you can see the ramp here. Coming onto the side, I like more of like a side saddle position for the legs here, but you can kickstand or fan the legs as needed to get comfortable in this variation. Arms extend over, and you find this triangle shape between the rib and the elbow where you can rest your head and come into a reclining side lying pose for any extended period of time to release in this variation. Same thing here, however long the time would be to enjoy this variation. And then from here, you can take your time as you press up onto your side. And of course, you want to do both sides. This is a really nice variation for people who have nerve pain or discomfort in the shoulder, wrist, or elbow, myself included. And while you might find that this is not stable enough for you, depending on the amount of cushion you need, you can always lay a blanket over this to achieve more comfort. Or a second set of triangles to achieve a wider structure. Same thing here for however long in this yin variation. From there, we'll move into a heart bench. Really big heart opener in yin yoga called heart bench. Triangles will go face down on the mat. Points up, close together. I like working with two. Facing away from the triangles, coming into that reverse tabletop position. And finding the point where your shoulders can press back and feel contact with the triangles. I prefer to support my head and my neck here as you come back. Doing whatever is most comfortable to achieve that relaxation in the legs so that the body can release. Again, listening to the cueing with your instructor for whatever length of time you're in this pose for. You might hear that my breath is a little challenged and shallow here because this is definitely a very deep opening pose. To come out of this, you can use your hands to help support your head. Of course, you can add other props to this variation, and this pose is also done regularly with blankets, blocks, and bolsters. The reason why the triangle is so nice is because it actually helps articulate more of that deep thoracic heart opener across the front of the chest. When we sit and we do a lot of this, that tissue can be particularly challenging to open. And a pro tip here, if you are interested in more of a myofascial release in this experience, you can reduce down to a single triangle and do the same thing. So I'll show that real quick. Again, supporting the head and the neck on the way back. It is one way better than the other. I mean, it's each body is very unique, so you need to listen to your body. There's no one is better than the other. There's just listening to your body. All right. Following your heart ramp, we can come into one of my personal favorites, using the long edge of the triangle for rolling the bridge of the forehead. You can do this at your desk in the middle of the workday. You don't have to be taking a yoga class to take advantage of this variation. You just need a surface. But in child's pose, you may have been in a class before where an instructor has cued you to do this with a block. The triangle is nice because you can actually grab it and move it and use the bevel, again, the part of the triangle that is unique to the design, to get in and access all of the tight tissue across the forehead, over the bridge of the nose. These are sinus pressure trigger points, and all the way up into the hairline. And you can also turn the triangle point up and you can work through your mandible. So if you clench or grind your teeth, this is really nice because you've got a point and you can get in there and you can work all of that tissue around the jaw, either side. And my neck just adjusted, so that's a bonus. Same thing here, you can set the forehead there, extend the arms out, massage the forehead from side to side in this child's pose variation. Moving along, we'll come into a wide straddle variation. This is a yin pose that's referred to as a sleeping dragon. And this happens to be the first pose that prompted the development of the yoga triangle. So I always like to point out, I never get tired of pointing out, that this space is shaped like a triangle. And the human body has lots of triangle shaped spaces. So when you start to see the triangle shaped spaces on the body, you'll really begin to realize the multitude of ways that the triangle fits really well for the body. So I like balance down, points toward, long points toward the inside of the thighs, soft, short point up toward behind the knees, and then from there you just extend the arms forward. You can also come down onto your elbows, or you can extend and press into your arms. These are all going to yield different sensations in the hamstrings and the low back. And I haven't been touching on the ways in which the biology and the musculature or the biomechanics of these poses are releasing, but trust me, if you like yin yoga, you already know exactly what it is that you're experiencing. It's a deep release. So you can hold here for, again, that extended period of time. And then to come out of this, you'll just gently press yourself back up and press your heels down to lift the knees up and remove the triangles. Can I do this the other way? Can I turn the triangles the other way? Absolutely. That might feel better for your knees. If you have any kind of things that you're dealing with inside of your knees, this might be a better option for you. Okay, moving along. Ooh. Poppy pose. This is a big one. Definitely not one of my go-to yin pose variations, mostly because I just don't like how it feels. But puppy pose is a great heart opener and a low back stretch. So for puppy pose, you'll come into a tabletop position with the triangles, balance face up, short angle towards you, or letter B towards your body. Extend the arms out and walk the hips back. Drop the head, release the hands, hang out here for, again, a while in a yin variation. For however long the teacher cues. Elbows are supported. Feels a lot better. Gives you a little lift in the hips, which takes some of the pressure off of the knees. If you're a person who has to manage their knees when they're practicing, you'll appreciate that. Moving along to glute release. One of my favorite ways to use the yoga triangle, and one of the more recent ways that I've been exploring this variation for myofascial release and trigger point release. So you're going to come into that reclining bridge position again and position the triangles right outside of either of your glutes or your hips. Balance down, the letter B pointed toward you on either side. Lowering down one elbow at a time, one shoulder at a time. And walking the feet into where you have enough support in your feet for when you press up into an easy bridge. Sliding the triangles to where the points are touching right under the glutes. And you'll feel it. You'll know when you're on it. You'll feel the trigger points. You can relax here. If you want to go deeper, you can extend the legs out. If you extend the legs out, you're definitely moving into a space that is, I would say, deeper than yin. We're moving into more of the myofascial and the fascial release here. But you're welcome to explore that by extending one or both legs out. So in this position, in addition to getting a glute release, you're also getting a psoas release. Otherwise, you can stay in this bridge position. Also worth mentioning, I'm going to come off the triangles and lower down for a moment. Your SI joint is shaped like a triangle, not like a rectangle. I know, it's mind-blowing, right? So this position is actually going to provide more support for your SI joint than this position. So you're welcome to explore bringing the triangles together in this triangle shape. That would be with the landmark balance out on either side and sliding them back underneath that bony prominence. You also have the softness and the fleshiness of the glutes to hang off here, which can feel really nice if you have tight hips or tight glutes. Same thing here, an upgrade on your supported bridge, which is also a yin pose. I like this one with the knees knocked in. All right, so we'll come out of that and slowly release, roll over onto one side and come up to seated. Moving on to our next variation, firelog pose. This guy is a pretty challenging pose, so I would say stage it to the best of your abilities. Coming into what would be like a butterfly position and sliding the triangle to between the ankle and the knee. Balance down. This is going to be more of a what fits best for the angle approach for each individual. Other leg comes across. We want to bring the ankle somewhere close to the knee and then shimming that other triangle into that space. And what this is doing is it's providing joint stability, which is really important. I think it's important. Depending on what yoga teacher you talk to, you may or may not think this is important. And you can lean forward in this variation, get a deep hip release. If you are not flexible enough to lean forward, right, this isn't a challenge, it's yoga, so listen to your body. You can stay upright, or you can take your hands to behind you and prop yourself, put a wall behind you, whatever works best for you. Make sure that we do both sides, slowly releasing. If you're in this pose for a while and it's a yin pose, that the transition out of the pose is as important as the pose itself and how long you're in the pose. A lot of teachers will prioritize and give length of duration of time for transitions because there's a lot of information in the transition. So take your time and feel the transition as well. So do the same thing on the other side. I want to make sure, again, the triangle fits that triangle space for this side, and it might be different from one side to the other. We're talking about the hips here. They tend to be different from one side to the other, like a lot of things in the body. Same thing on the other side. Kitty assist. Okay. Moving along. Thank you for being here if you're still watching. We'll move into reclining, supported, easy legs up the wall. Another favorite. Kind of coming toward the end of our practice, I would say. Reclining back into your bridge pose. Sliding the triangles to underneath the small part of your back and extending the legs up. Balance down. You can do this with a wall. You can do this with your legs open. You can do this with your legs bent and a strap around your knees, whatever's most comfortable for you to come into this extended, long, very relaxing, deeply therapeutic, top of the line, highly recommended. You guys can see where I'm going with this, right? Incredibly effective, deeply healing inversion. Anyone can do this, except pregnant moms. Okay, releasing from there. Last two movements we're going to go over. Supported reclining butterfly, just like it sounds. Look at that, the triangles fit right between your thighs and the ground. If you're a little more flexible, you can push out toward the knees. Highly encourage joint stability here, especially if you're going to be in the pose for 5 minutes, maybe longer. You want to have that support so that you can find the stillness and feel the body trying to release, feel the tissue rebounding. Again, you can flip the angle if you need more support. You can go in deeper, wider, etc. Last variation, since we're already here in this reclining variation, we'll come into a supported spinal twist. So, knees lift, knees drop to one side, and triangles slide in under the small part of the back to help provide a support here. This one is actually quite lovely in restorative yoga with a sandbag. Sandbag here, sandbag over the wrist or the extended arm. That's going to really help open up all of the side body tissue in a supported spinal twist. To release, roll to one side, remove the triangles, take the knees back to the chest, do your reset. And then we do the same thing on the other side where we take the knees and crush the kitty and slide the triangle underneath the small part of the back and release. Removing the triangle, slowly rolling onto your back, giving the knees a hug, rolling onto your side and up to seated. So that is all of the sequencing that I have planned to share with you today for yin sequencing. There's lots and lots of other ways to use the yoga triangles to build into your sequences. Please check back for more. Thank you for being here today. Again, if you want more information, theyogatriangle.com. You can also explore our community. We have a Slack community, and we are continuing to grow and share this wonderful product and various teachers and their experiences as they build the product into whatever it is they're teaching. So, and thank you for being here. Have a great day.